So this chapter is about different forms of energy, and when we say energy, different forms of energy, we specifically mean mechanical energy. We have already seen one form of mechanical energy, which is the gravitational potential energy. I'll shorten it to GPE. And if you want to know the gravitational potential energy for any object, you can find out by potential energy is equal to the mass of the object times the gravitational constant times the height from any arbitrary given position. So there are some arguments about finding out the absolute potential energy of the object when you bring it from infinity to any particular place. But that particular argument, we will talk about it a little bit more when you will understand that argument a little bit more when we come to talk about electric potential energy. But for the time being, you can always say an object has potential energy in comparison to some arbitrary point, usually the ground, sometimes the center of the earth. So there is a height h. I'm saying this again and again and again so that people are clear about it. You have to apply a force mg to lift it up, and if you drop it from there, gravity will pull it down by a force mg. So therefore the potential energy obtained by that object will be mgh. Now if you move the object to another height, okay, and let's say that that height is this section is x, okay, so you now put this object over here. So in that case, now the new potential energy for it at that point will be m times g times h plus x from the ground. If you want it from here, then it will be just mgx. Okay, so that is how we do numerical calculation. The relevance of this is for numerical calculations. That's how you will handle numerical calculations based on gravitational potential energy. So there are, apart from gravitational energy, potential energy, there are different kinds of potential energy, energies, and some of them may be familiar to you. Elastic potential energy. So basically, if you, like for example, have a compressed spring, right, and you extend the compressed spring by the application of a force. So this was the height of the spring, and you pulled it by that much by applying a force F on it. Okay, so you can calculate what is the potential energy in that spring now by using the work equation, where the force applied is assumed to be constant. You can also keep it as a non-constant force, but for the sake of simplicity, we can keep the force as a constant force, and we can say that the potential energy gained will be the work done, which will be equal to F times S times cos theta. Since the force and the displacement are in the same direction, sorry, this should just be like this, in this direction, then F times S times cos 0 degrees, so that will become equal to F times S. This is of course if the force is constant, but anybody who is stretched a rubber band or pulled a hard spring will know that the force is not constant, it's a variable force. If there is a variable force, then you have to take the average of the force, so it will be approximately half of this thing, but you don't need to worry about it for the time being. If you know this, that is enough. You can also find out what is the force that will be required to create this extension, but for that you will need something called as the Hooke's constant of that spring. This is just, I'm telling by the way, because I happen to remember it. And you can do experiments on springs and rubber bands to find out what is the Hooke's constant. It's a very intuitive thing, but I'm just saying it just so that you remember. There is of course also chemical potential energy, one of the most important forms of potential energy. Basically, when you have bonds that are made between atoms and molecules, then when the bonds break because of some other atom or molecule that comes along which has a higher affinity for one of these particles, then when the bonds break, the energy that is released, that can create chemical potential energy. Of course, it can, the energy can also be released by the formation of the bond, but both the processes are go in parallel. So whenever we combust something, when we burn something, like for example, when fuel burns in the engine of your car, then chemical potential energy which has been stored in it for millennia, rather actually for millions of years, gets released. So these things you just need to know. One another newer one will be solar energy. Okay, actually I shouldn't say solar energy as part of this, I'll come to that later. Okay, so basically gravitational potential energy, elastic potential energy and chemical potential energy. What do you need to know? Do you need to know all these equations and so on? No, you don't need to know that. You just need to know these two types. Gravitational potential energy, you need to know the equation. Okay, so that is as far as that part of the syllabus is concerned. The next form of mechanical energy, the one that we need to study a little bit more in detail, again I have introduced this in class 8, it is called kinetic energy. So basically kainos means movement, kinetic energy is the energy that an object has because of its motion. Kinetic energy of an object is directly proportional to the velocity that it has, and kinetic energy of a body is also directly proportional to its mass. That much we can easily see. There is a difference between throwing a small stone at somebody and a difference between throwing a large stone at somebody. Okay, so the damage that is done by the large stone is greater than the damage done by the small stone. So therefore, we know that mass it depends upon. Again, even if it is a small stone, right? A bullet, for example, can be comparable to a small stone. But the velocity with which the bullet moves, which can be in excess of 100 to 300 meters per second, that can be extremely damaging, as we all know. So therefore, there is a direct proportionality between the kinetic energy that is carried by an object, possessed by an object, and the velocity and the mass. But experiments determined that kinetic energy and the relationship between kinetic energy, velocity, and mass is not a direct relationship like that. The experiments really revealed that the kinetic energy is equal to half times mv square. Okay, so the confusing factor is the square part over here. You may ask, why does the square come over there? Well, the simple answer is nothing else fits the data as well as this particular equation. We don't have a conclusive answer for why it is square and why it can't be just mv. We don't also know why this half comes in there. These quantities have been put in there. The mathematicians like to say by hand. That means human beings have just introduced that to it. But it's not as bad as that. We have enough empirical evidence, experimental evidence to say that this is the equation. Now, using this equation, you can find out what amount of kinetic energy that an object has by just plugging in the numbers for the mass and the velocity. The answer, of course, comes out in terms of joules. So the answer comes out energy. All energy is measured in terms of joules. Now there is, of course, a derivation in page 31. There is a derivation for kinetic energy based on the second equation of motion. V square is equal to u square plus 2as. By finding out the value for s using that equation, please remember this one, v square is equal to u square plus 2as. By making s the subject of the equation, you can substitute in work equation and get the kinetic energy formula. That derivation tells you that kinetic energy equation is in accordance with all the other equations of motion. Okay, and that derivation you are supposed to commit to memory. So what we can, there are so this particular equation you have to not this one, the derivation part of it, we will have a quick class test at some point of time in the following week. Remember, we did it in 9th standard for the three equations of motion. I think, what did I say, 9 minutes or 3 minutes for 3 equations of motion? I don't remember, something like that.
10 minutes.
Sorry?
It was 10 minutes.
10 minutes. 10 minutes for 3 equations of motion. For one equation for kinetic energy, I will give you 2 minutes. All of you have to do it by heart. So please work on it. I will tell you in advance, it is not for the next class. We will come to that. Now, the next part of it is, there is a relationship between kinetic energy and momentum. You can, those who are interested can have a look at that section. Momentum is not, strictly speaking, part of our syllabus, so you don't have to study that portion. And we can move on from there to the work energy theory.